Blessed are those who trust in God.
We come in trust to be grounded in God's love.
Blessed are those who hope in God.
We come in hope, trusting in the one who gives us life.
Blessed are those who delight in God's word.
We come to hear God speak, hoping for healing and joy.
Welcome in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning. The prelude, as you can see from the picture, was originally, the Pavan was a court dance at the court of Spain in the 1600s. Gabriel Fauré, as you see, whose dates are listed, he set it to piano and a wordless chorus. In other words, the chorus, there were no words. And it has since gone through transformation into many different arrangements for full orchestra, all kinds of. And so it's a beautiful melody, as many of you may recognize.
Now, if what we hear from the world is true, we would have no need to come before God. But in fact, the witness of Scripture and of the faithful is true. God is to be trusted with every secret of our hearts, as well as offered our brokenness.
We confess what we are afraid to face, blessing God that the seductions of this world gnaw away at our hearts. We have more and more to choose from at the market, and so we forget those whose only choice is hunger. We are so consumed with saving enough for the future, we overlook those who have so little this day. Forgive us, heartbroken God, for thinking we are the center of your world. Pour your living water into us so we might send down roots deep into your heart. And so we might become those people who are blessings to others, as we have received the gift of new life from Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Blessed are you, for God forgives you and restores you to new life. Rejoice in this day and dance for joy.
Thanks be to God. Our faith is true and our hope is grounded in the promises of the one we can trust not only on this day, but in every day to come. Amen.
Let justice fall like streams of sparkling water pure, enabling growth, refreshing life, abundant, cleansing sure. Let righteous roll on as others we heed, an ever-flowing stream of faith translated in true deed. So may God's plumb line straight divide our measure true, and justice right and peace pervade this land our whole life through.
The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all, and also with you. In peace, let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, have mercy.
For the peace from above and for our salvation, let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, have mercy.
For the peace of the whole world, for the well-being of the Church of God, and for the unity of all, let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, have mercy.
For this holy house, and for all who offer here their worship and praise, let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, have mercy.
Help, save, comfort, and defend us, gracious Lord.
Amen.
Glory to God in the highest, and peace to God's people on earth.
Lord God, heavenly King, almighty God and Father, we worship you, we give you thanks, we praise you for your glory. Lord Jesus Christ, only Son of the Father, we God, Lamb of God, you take away the sin of the world. Have mercy on us. You seated at the right hand of the Father. Receive our prayer. For you alone are the Holy One. You alone are the Lord.
We pray, living God, in Christ you make all things new. Transform us by the riches of your grace. In the renewal of our lives, make known your glory. Through Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen.
The reading today is from Jeremiah chapter 17. Thus says the Lord, cursed are those who trust in mere mortals and make mere flesh their strength, whose hearts turn away from the Lord. They shall be like a shrub in the desert, and shall not see when relief comes. They shall live in the parched places of the wilderness, in an uninhabited salt land. Blessed are those who trust in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. They shall be like a tree planted by water, sending out its roots by the stream. It shall not fear when heat comes, and its leaves shall stay green. In the year of drought, it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit. The heart is devious above all else, it is perverse. Who can understand this? I, the Lord, test the mind and search the heart, to give to all according to their ways, according to the fruit of their doings. Word of God, word of life. Thanks be to God. The psalm today is Psalm 1. Please follow along with me as I read aloud. Happy are they who have not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor lingered in the ways of sinners, nor sat in the seats of the scornful. Their delight is in the law of the Lord, and they meditate on God's teaching day and night.
Stay with me, remain here with me. Watch and pray. Watch and pray.
They are like trees planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in due season, with leaves that do not wither. Everything they do shall prosper.
Stay with me, remain here with me. Watch and stay. Watch and pray.
It is not so with the wicked. They are like chaff which the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked shall not stand upright when judgment comes, nor the sinner in the counsel of the righteous.
Stay with me, remain here with me. Watch and pray. Watch and pray.
For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall be destroyed.
Stay with me, remain here with me. Watch and pray. Watch and pray.
Reading today is from 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Now, if Christ is proclaimed as raised from the dead, how could some of you say there is no resurrection of the dead? If there is no resurrection of the dead, then Christ has not been raised. And if Christ has not been raised, then our proclamation has been in vain, and your faith has been in vain. We are even found to be misrepresenting God because we testified of God that he raised Christ, whom he did not raise, if it is true that the dead are not raised. For if the dead are not raised, then Christ has not been raised. If Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile, and you are still in your sins. Then those also who have died in Christ have perished. If for this life only we have hoped in Christ, we are of all people most to be pitied.
But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have died. Word of God, word of life. Thanks be to God.
Hallelujah, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
The Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus came down with the 12 and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. They had come to hear him and to be healed of their diseases, and those who were troubled with unclean spirits were cured. And all in the crowd were trying to touch him, for power came out from him and healed all of them. Then he looked up at his disciples and said, Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is what their ancestors did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets. The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ.
Hallelujah, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Whoa, did he really just say that? Did he really just remind us of our great past and our dwindling numbers in the present? Did he just really rub it in how things have changed? Not just for Christ the King, but also for Fremont? Some of you might have thought that last week after listening to Joe's Acts for Vitality talk. And you're right, it's no fun to hear the truth when the truth isn't pink and glittery, when we can't talk growth and glory. And you know how it is with the truth. It's not like we didn't know it all along. After all, we have eyes to see and ears to hear, and we often choose to ignore what we know and love what is and put a positive spin on everything. And I admit that pastors are often especially good at that, mainly because despair and anxiety aren't helpful either when it comes to reality checks and change, and nor is living in denial. Wow, did he really just say that? Did he really just woe the rich, the full, the happy-go-lucky, the well-respected people in our community? Did he really just woe most, maybe even all of us, basically? The unpleasant answer is obviously yes. Yes, Jesus just called us out radically and harshly. And if you try to back away now, wait a second. Do you have a roof over your head at night? Do you have food in your fridge? Can you afford to travel sometimes, like me? I mean, I'm in Twain Harte right now. Or can you afford to see a show? Or drive somewhere just for pleasure and leisure? Well, when you're considered, then you're considered to be rich. you're part of the richest people in the world. And no, not the top 10 or the top 100 or even the top 1%, of course, but you and I, we're all considered to be richer than the absolute majority of people in the world. There's no way around it. And now we could all rejoice and say, that's awesome. And Jesus doesn't consider being rich a blessing in today's gospel. He says, woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. To be blessed with wealth is nowhere to be found in Jesus' sermons, much to our regret. Yet, of course, we aren't just rich. Some of us have very good reason to weep these days. Many of us are hungry for healing from the pandemic, of course, for healing from cancer, from COVID, from isolation and despair. And yes, the poor surely suffer more when sick, but money often doesn't buy us the cure we need either. And then sometimes all we're left to do is weep, cry, scream in anger over the unfairness of life and cancer that lets some drink and smoke healthily forever and kills others. And then that, Jesus calls the weeping, the crying, the people screaming in agony, blessed. What, did he really just say that? The poor wonder, the hungry cry, the sad weep? Did he really just call us blessed? I mean, is he kidding us? Doesn't he see our reality, our needs, our pain? Doesn't he see the world seems to have forgotten the ones Jesus calls blessed? Jesus preaches his Sermon on the Plain. And most of you know this sermon as the Sermon on the Mount. But Luke sets it elsewhere, on the plain. Here, Jesus' sermon quite literally creates a leveling field. It's basically the idea of equity instead of equality. What's the difference? Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources and opportunities regardless of their circumstances. Like we used to hand out backpacks with basically the same content to boys and girls. But then Melinda and some others realized that that wasn't fair because girls need additional resources to buy menstruating products. So last year we included extra gift cards for girls, which probably felt unfair to some brothers in a family at first, when really it was the fairest thing to do. In today's gospel, equality would be calling the poor and the rich blessed and woe them both for their misuse of their resources. It would be to ask them both to be more generous according to their means and to reconsider their spending. It would be to reassure them both of being beloveds of God, no matter what. It would be Jesus saying, sure, you're rich, and I know you're sad or sick as well, so don't worry too much about the woe, you're still blessed. Equality in today's gospel would be the implicit claim that God doesn't care about material needs of the poor or the tears of the weeping or the abundance of us rich. But thank God, that's not what Jesus preaches. The truth is a different one. God does seem to care about our bank accounts and what we choose to do with them. God cares about the poor and whether they are fed and housed and dressed. And not just with the very least, but with the very best, with what the rich have, with what we have. God cares about the sick, everyone battling COVID or cancer or any other illness. God cares about our suffering. And calling us blessed isn't denial here. It's telling us that we're never alone, never abandoned by God, that our suffering is no punishment by God, that our suffering does not take away from God's love for us. In the contrary, that God is with us in our suffering. That's what being blessed means, that God is with us. Jesus preaches to level the field. Imagine a world where everyone can live in dignity, which would be equity. Equity in its simplest terms means meeting people where they are and allocating resources and opportunities as needed to create equal outcomes for all. The poor are blessed, and that should actually change their lives in this world. The weeping are blessed, and that should actually change their lives in this world. The rich live in woe, which also should actually change their and our lives in this world. Imagine the cures we could have if we poured our money into cancer research instead of weapons and wars. Imagine what the poor could create, could be, could develop if they didn't have to struggle for dear life. Imagine. That's basically what Jesus preaches to us today. And we're like, whoa, really? Which usually leads us to finding good reasons why there's no way any of this could ever become true. I mean, during the pandemic, the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. We are probably as far away from a leveled reality as the people listening to Jesus's sermons back then. Well, the rather annoying truth about Jesus is that he usually isn't discouraged by our realities and visionary limitations. He just keeps walking around proclaiming truth that at first don't ring true. He just doesn't give up on leveling the field, working toward equity for all. Blessed are the struggling. Woe to you who think you've got it all figured out. When it comes to the future of the ELCA in general and the future of our congregation specifically, that's actually good news, because we don't have it all figured out. We struggle, we wonder, we worry, and amidst all that, we hear that we are blessed. We are called to envision the future. A blessed future, which means a future with struggles and with God by our side. Amen.
Let streams of living justice flow down upon the earth. Give freedom's light to captives, let all the poor have worth. The hungry skies are pleading, the workers claim their rights. The mourners long for laughter, the blinded seek for sight. May liberty a beacon strike down the iron power. Abolishing should sentence, proclaim your people's law. For healing of the nations, for peace they'll not tend. For love that makes us lovers, God grant us grace to mend. We have merit grace together, lead our lives as they are spun on your loom of time, and roll us till our thread of life is run. O great weaver of a fabric, bind the church and world in one. Dye our texture with your radiance, light our colors with your sun. Your cities built to music, we are the stones you seek. Your harmony is language, we are the words you speak. Our faith we find in sadness, our hope in others' dreams, our love in land of neighbor, our homeland brightly gleams. Inscribe our hearts with justice, your with untried. Your truth in the heart of stranger, your life like crucified.
We will recite the Apostles' Creed in our own homes. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, God's only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended to the dead. On the third day, he rose again. He ascended into heaven. He is seated at the right hand of the Father, and he will come to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. The Spirit of the Lord is poured out upon us in abundance. So we are bold to pray for the church, the world, and all that God has made. Blessed are those whose trust is in you. Strengthen our faith and bring reassurance to those who doubt or fear. Those who trust in you are like trees planted by streams of water. Search the hearts of those who govern. Inspire leaders to collaborate on policies that protect people and the planet. Sustain truth tellers and social movements that challenge society to become more honest and just. Send your blessings of mercy upon those who long for consolation. Tend to those struggling with poverty, unemployment, and uncertainty. Provide for all who are hungry. Console those who face persecution. Grant peace to all who suffer. Renew this congregation in our shared mission. As we plan and dream for the future you are preparing, inspire us by the examples of Martin Luther and all the reformers. Bless our Acts for Vitality program. Christ is raised from the dead, and so we cling to the hope of the resurrection. We praise you for the lives of the saints who lived and died in the hope of eternal life with you. And for whom else and what else do we pray? You may unmute yourself if you would like us to hear your prayer. Since we have such great hope in your promises, O God, we lift these and all of our prayers to you in confidence and faith through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Good morning. This is Jim. I wanted to give a brief introduction to our breakout room today. It's designed to help those of us on the Acts of Vitality team to anticipate what the needs and visions are of the people within our congregation. Many of you, of course, have gone through business situations where the upper management comes along and says, here's our 5-year plan. Or your manager asks you, well, where do you want to be in 5 years? Well, that's what we're asking you today. Where do you want to be in 5 years as Christ the King, as a congregation, as a community of faith? So we're going to break out into various rooms. There's going to be several people in each room. And one person will be taking notes. There'll be no names ascribed to the ideas that are shared. We just want to get everyone to share their concepts. Dreams, it could be way up off the wall if you want, or something really concrete. Just think ahead to where you think we need to be or you would like us to be in the future within about 5 years. In your wildest dreams, what would CTK be to the community in 5 years?
God gives us what we need, and God asks us to give what we can to those in need around us. Thank you. Sometimes we believe the gifts we offer do not matter, but when they are combined with all other gifts of healing, of hope, of compassion, of your heart, they can become rivers of grace and justice flowing through the lives of everyone around us. Amen.
Our next song is All Blessings Flow. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures sing below. Praise
Praise Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Praise Him. Praise Him. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Praise Him. Praise Him. There is a melody that I love to sing. Sing a simple song of praise to my Savior and my King. The name that calms my fears, bids my sorrow cease. His music to my ears, it is life and health and peace. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Praise Him. Praise Him. All blessings flow from the Father. All blessings flow from the Son. All blessings flow from the Spirit. Praise Him. Praise Him. All blessings flow from the Father. All blessings flow from the Son. All blessings flow from the Spirit. Praise Him. Praise Him.
Wherever and whoever you are, communion with God is coming to you. Prepare to welcome your guest. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Lift up your hearts.
We lift them to the Lord.
Let us give thanks to the Lord our God.
It is right to give our thanks and praise.
You opened your heart, God of every wonder, and creation flowed forth, transforming chaos into a garden of delights. Your spirit of generosity offered all these gifts to those shaped in your image, inviting us to picnic by the waters of life. But we chose to sink our roots in the sandy clay of sin and death, taking our places at the scoffer's table. You blessed the prophets with your words, sending them to proclaim your healing words to all who would come and listen. But when our hearts refused to budge, you sent Jesus, your hope, your life, to become one of us. Preparing to come to your table, we join our voices with all who delight in you in every place and time.
Holy, holy, holy Lord, God of power and might, heaven and earth are full of your glory. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the
And now I invite you to say the words of institution together with me so that they will be spoken and heard in every single one of our homes, cabins, wherever you are right now. On the night in which he gave himself up for us, he took bread, gave thanks to you, broke the bread, gave it to his disciples and said, "Take and eat. This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." When the supper was over, he took the cup, gave thanks to you, gave it to his disciples and said, "Drink from this, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me." Great is the mystery of faith.
Christ has died.
We will all recite the Lord's Prayer together. Jesus called God his Father, so do we. Please pray in the language and translation of your heart. Our Father in
Vater unser
heaven,
im Himmel,
hallowed be your
geheiligt werde
name.
dein Name.
Your kingdom
Dein Reich
come,
komme,
your will be
Wille
done
geschehe,
done
wie
as in
on
heaven.
earth as in
Give
heaven.
us today
Give us
our daily
today our
bread.
daily bread.
Forgive us
Forgive
our
us our
sins,
sins
as we forgive those who sin against
unseren
us.
Schuldigen.
Save us from the time of trial,
and deliver us from
Erlöse
evil.
uns
Deliver
von
us.
the power, and the glory are
Glory are
yours,
yours,
now and
now and
forever.
forever.
Amen.
Amen.
Lamb of God, you take away the sin of the world. Have mercy on us. Lamb of God, you take away the sin of the world. Have mercy on us. Lamb of God, you take away the sin of the world. Grant us peace.
And now, friends of Jesus, come to the table and see and taste that the Lord is good. The body of Christ given for you. The blood of Christ shed for you.
Jesus, the very thought of you fills us with sweet delight, but sweeter far your face to view, and rest within your light. Hope of every contrite soul, O joy of all the meek, how kind you are to those who fall, how good to those who seek. Oh, Jesus, be our joy today. Help us to prize your love. Grant us at last to hear you say, come share my home above.
We give you thanks, gracious God, that you have once again fed us from your very self with the body and blood of Christ. Send us to proclaim your promise to a world in need through the same Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
And now may God be with you always to deliver you. May Christ Jesus put his gracious words in your mouth. And may the Holy Spirit bring you to completeness in faith, hope, and love. Amen.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout that the God of my heart is great, and my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fixed your side on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west shall my name be blessed. Could the world be about to turn, my heart shall sing of the day you bring. Let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all the tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Through the nations rage from age to age, we remember who holds us fast. But the mercies must deliver us from the conqueror's
Grounded in God's love, we are sent out.
To share abundance with those who have little.
Little.
Blessed with Jesus' hope, we go forth.
To
Fill
fill
hearts
hearts
with
with longing for
justice.
justice.
Blessed with the Spirit's delight, we dance into the world.
To take the hands of our siblings
and gather at the edge of waters for a picnic.
Go in peace and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to
be to
God.
God.